Well, hello, folks. So, there's been a lot of chatter about those three little letters that we keep seeing, the DEI. We have some people that are adamantly against, some that are adamantly for, and some that are just not taking a side. So, I wanted to hop on here and kind of help people understand not only what DEI is a little bit, but also why you need to take a stance. Because it is my understanding from conversations that I have witnessed and, social media flying and a lot of people within some of the older populations as well. But also, I live in the South, I live in the Bible Belt. So there's a lot of misunderstood uh, conversation. So I want to make sure that there's a little bit of clarity so that we can enter into this conversation with a little bit better understanding and knowledge, really. Um, so DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Most people, I think, can understand that that means a variety of people. I will say if you are hung up on things like gay marriage or homosexuality or whatever, get off the high horse. Okay. Again, I live in the Bible Belt, born and raised in the church. I know what the Bible says about homosexuality. I also know what it says about judging people, choosing the speck in your neighbor's eye over the plank in your own, and some other fun things, things that Jesus said, but, whatever. If your focus is on that, we have issues. We're going to start there. Okay. The race side of things, right? Some people are saying, well, that just means that they're going to hire somebody who is less qualified because they have a different ethnicity. And so it will create a better variety of people and their business, their school, whatever looks more uh, inclusive, whatever. And so therefore people are picking somebody of a different nationality, different ethnicity for the DEI, not based on qualifications. No, that's not what's happening. In fact, it's the opposite that's happening. That people are getting hired because they are qualified and they've been qualified and they're choosing the best qualified candidate regardless of ethnicity and color of their skin. I don't know if you guys remember things like civil rights or Jim Crow laws, things like that, where you would have a totally qualified person who wouldn't get hired because of their skin color. And then they'd hire somebody that looked like them and they weren't qualified, but it didn't matter. Yeah. So that's, you know, but again, what somebody practices in the bedroom is none of your business. It's none of my business. Um, if we want to play that rule, I can dig out some scripture too, and guarantee you that you're going to fall on the sin line if you want to play the Bible rule. If you want to play whatever else, that I can't see anybody else that goes against homosexuality that isn't beating the Bible. That's when it comes to the race issue. Man, I will get too passionate for a video like this. So let's talk about where we fit in because this is an ease issue. Equal accessibility and support everywhere. That is us. We are DEI. We are. Uh, we are not pushing that you take somebody because they're deaf. We want you to take them because they're most qualified. If they happen to be deaf, then provide accommodations. Maybe. I think what a lot of people don't realize is that equitable accommodations are still not being done, first off. But sometimes where people believe that they are providing accessibility and accommodations, they don't have a clue what they're doing. They're using blankets of like, this is our policy. So it's not equitable. And I think people say, oh, we're doing just fine. My company's just fine. We do what we have to do. But we're missing out on some things. I think a lot of people miss out on the fact that this is all fairly new. Remember, civil rights is not that old. You know, when we talk about Ruby Bridges going to school, like she's still alive. My kids know about Ruby Bridges, and yours should too. You know, when you look at somebody and you go, oh, hey, they're the same age as your grandmother, that's, that's what we're dealing with, right? Like my parents, my in laws, their generation was around for all of this. And I think that we often forget that. We read it in a history book and assume that it was so far gone that we're separated from it. When we're talking about um, DEI or IDEA or the ADA, all of this is like 90s. Like, this is not a joke. The ADA was signed into law in 1993. If you don't know what the ADA is, we talked about in a previous video, the Americans with Disabilities Act, right? President Bush signed those papers. I was in elementary school, but I was alive, right? Like, this is not multiple generations past us. This is still like, it's our time to act, and we're still dealing with this type of stuff. So what does that mean? Like, what's the influence in that, right? So again, Bush signed that into as a law really after people were marching on the Senate, wheelchair users, right? Because it wasn't a law to have ramps. That's not that long ago, guys. It's not that long ago. Wheelchairs have been around for a while. We had a president in a wheelchair. Not even he thought, you know what, we should have a ramp for everyone. Like, this again, it's just an interesting concept to kind of stop and pause and think about. We see crosswalks, yellow bumped textured walkways for white cane users. We see ramps for wheelchair users. We have the beeping crosswalks for those who are blind or visually impaired. We have items in place, and they're all there because of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, you might say, well, I don't have anybody in my family that's dealing with that. No, but you know what? You might fall and break your hip, and now you're in a wheelchair. That ramp sure does come in handy, doesn't it? I have a friend whose vision is going. She's struggling with some things. She almost tripped walking into a school because she couldn't tell where the curb was because our curbs aren't yellow like they're supposed to be painted. Like, that is part of the accommodations, is making sure curbs are yellow or red if it's a do not park. That's part of it. Could you imagine if she had tripped and fallen and broken a wrist because she couldn't see where the pavement was? Her depth perception is going. That's not scary. It may not be something that you're facing right now, but you have no control over the future. And you have no idea what will hit you personally, or what will impact your spouse or your kids or your grandkids. You don't know. None of us know. We don't hold the keys to the future. We're just along for the ride. Don't you want it more inclusive? Don't you want people to be allowed to work because they're the most qualified? I mean, I have multiple friends who are deaf, who are engineers. And I promise you, what they do is well above my head. I got nothing. They are brilliant. If they are overlooked for the job because they're deaf and you would have to provide accommodations, but somebody like me was picked who isn't qualified, we'd all be screwed. We would be. You have people with degrees who have earned their right to be there. And they got those degrees, a lot of times, with some accommodations. Just continue the accommodations. It's not that big of a deal. Now, I saw a meme and I really hope that it's fake. I need to get out there and research it. But it showed the woman who's over education, and they said, she said, the IDEA, I don't know what that is yet. I'm still, it's my first week on the job. Oh man. I really, I really pray that that was just a joke that was going around the internet, that it wasn't real, and I should give her the benefit of the doubt. But I am worried about that. And if you don't know what the IDA is, it's the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Do you know who that helps? Do you have any idea what the IDEA does? I mean, we're talking a child who needs speech therapy. I had cousins who went through speech therapy. Nothing else on the radar. They all have college degrees, married kids, all these things. It's speech therapy. Kids go to speech therapy. Toddlers go to speech therapy. Some kids choose not to speak. If they have an older sibling who will gladly speak for them, sometimes they just, I'm going to let them talk. They sit back and they choose not to. They're stubborn and refuse to speak. They might grunt at you or point at something or, hmm. And then, Big Brother comes over and says, oh, he wants this, she wants that, and takes care of it. Well, why would you? God, if I could get through my day and not have to speak, if everybody could just understand a few grunts and snarls and a pointing, my life would be easier too. I need somebody to speak for me, right? Like, but that child will then go through speech therapy and then they can't shut them up. That child will speak, speak, speak in full paragraphs for the rest of their lives, never ending. And you'll go, oh my God, would you please shut up? I love you. Right? But that's, I mean, like, most people don't consider that a disability. They aren't labeled as a disability, but they're sent to a speech pathologist. They're spent to they're sent to the speech pathologist to go through those learning of the vowel sounds and the blendings and the consonants, and they go through it all. And then again, boom, did their job. Yes, that also includes those with hearing loss who will go to speech therapy. It's more than that. Honest to God, when I taught high school, I'm pretty sure at least a third of our students were considered special needs. That's the IDEA. Now, I will say I have since learned, thanks to my second college degree, where they actually taught me about this, that the 504 is not what they're using as a 504. Let me just say that. Okay, so Section 504 is a section of the ADA under with IDEA. Section 504 says that they need academic accommodations, which could mean a lot of things. I was taught as a teacher that you have an IEP, an individual educational plan, and that IEP was for those kids who are like down below, who really need a lot of help. And that a 504 was like, well, they need some help, but they don't need all that help. No, no. A 504, Section 504 means you need accommodations. That's it. And then under that, we have the IEP, which says that these are like, there might be some underlying condition or whatever. Section 504 means you need accommodations. Do you know how many of our students receive accommodations? A whole heck of a lot, especially in South Carolina. Heaven forbid our parents sing the ABCs and read a book to them, right? Why is this so difficult to understand? IDEA, DEI, ADA, people are throwing these letters around going, oh, well, that's not me, that's not me, I don't know anybody like that. Bull. I guarantee you, every person who will ever watch this video will know somebody who needed a ramp, who needed Section 504, who needed, anything, literally anything. I mean, some kids get accommodations just by having a conversation. Like the mom and the teacher talk, and the teacher's like, look, let's just do this. And that teacher provides accommodations without all the bureaucratic tape of we have to get them tested. This, they just see it and they're like, look, here's what I'm going to do. That has happened. Not often. Usually there's testing, there's psychological, there's all these different things. The general doctor has to sign off on things, paperwork has to be turned in. I'm terrified. I'm sending my daughter to a school for the first time ever. And I'm terrified because as her homeschool mom, I know what accommodations she needs. And I've been giving them to her because, yeah, I know if she didn't understand something, I'm like, read it again and read it out loud. That's all I have to say to her. Technically, that's an accommodation, being able to read something out loud. Because in a classroom of 20, 30 kids, if you read it out loud, you're now a distraction and a trouble to your classmates and your neighbors. Guys, it's happening everywhere. I guarantee you it's happening at your work already. These are not scary letters, and they're not supposed to be scary letters. When did it become so atrocious to actually care about somebody? Where did it switch that we wanted people to have a level playing field? Why is that so hard? I if you look back, if you truly look back at the history of America, look at the people who were senators, who were state representatives. Look at the people who were in government. They all didn't have money. Some did. Absolutely, some did. But not all of them. Right? Like, I think we're kind of a little bit in the have and have nots. And if you have the money for it, you can pay for a private school. You can get those accommodations without needing to see those special letters and numbers next to your child's name. And so you feel like it doesn't bother you or it doesn't matter to you. But we have to understand that not everybody has that money to pay for that. Not everybody has the ability to stay home and homeschool their children and help them with accommodations because they've been in education, they understand the system. When you see what's wrong with your kid, and you just help them. Not everybody has that situation. Does the DEI affect you? Yes. Yes. Completely, wholeheartedly, without a doubt. So to have somebody say, we're getting rid of DEI, so we're just gonna you're gonna get rid of cohesion, you're gonna get rid of accommodations, you're gonna get rid of accessibility, you're gonna get rid of, I mean, do we not remember the days? Of course, I wasn't alive for it, probably, but go to a grocery store. Go to a grocery store. Buy food for a family of 4. Tell me you did not enjoy those automatic doors. That's accessibility. Automatic doors? Allow for those wheelchair users to enter and exit. Oh, sure. It's for everybody. Those shopping carts need to go through. Sure, yeah. hmm hmm Enjoy the escalator. Enjoy the elevators. How many places put in an elevator due to the ADA? That's the question. How many places are now built with an elevator because of the ADA? Oh, did you use it? Did you use the elevator when you had surgery and you were on crutches? Hmm. How nice. How nice for you. You mean you didn't struggle up 3 flights of stairs? That's nice. ADA, DEI, IDEA, Section 504, all of these things matter. It's not about your religious beliefs. It's not about your political stance. It's about being a good freaking human. Did you know that? It's about being a good person. It's about caring for the people next door. I cannot comprehend how anybody can take something so community oriented and turn it into something so political. Now, I get we had to make it political for people to actually care, but once it's brought to your attention, why would you choose not to care? And if you choose not to care, then I don't want to be friends with you. I will be your adversary because I'm going to fight against it every single time. I will advocate for accessibility and accommodations until the day I die. End of story. You don't like it? Tough. You want to unfriend me, unfollow me, go right ahead. But this impacts more people than you are possibly thinking about. And if you want to sit back and go, well, no. Every single person needs to take a stand and say, this matters. Even if you still are stuck on certain things, you got to stop and realize that maybe it doesn't affect you, but it affects your neighbor. It affects your kids. It affects your friends. There is somebody you know that this is affecting. I guarantee it. And if you don't know anybody, you need to expand your horizons or start having conversations. Because we spent, I don't want to guess, I'll just say too many decades, centuries, brushing aside those conversations. Everybody had to fit in the box. Everybody had to fit this norm. And if you didn't fit that box, you were over here, but we didn't talk about you, right? We didn't talk about mental health. We didn't talk about disabilities. We pitied people and we left them. Enough. People matter. It's 2025, and I know that more people are caring about people than ever before. We're going outside of ourselves and taking up causes. Take up this cause. This should not end. Take a stand and say, you know what? I may not fully understand it. I may not have all the details, but yeah, this matters. This matters. This matters to people. This matters to people I know, people I care about. It matters to myself, and it should matter to everyone. You know, again, I don't think people generally wake up in the morning and they're like, I want to take away rights of people. I want to take away accessibility. I don't think anybody wakes up and they're like, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to screw over some deaf person. Nobody wakes up thinking like this. We wake up and we focus on ourselves. It's always our own little lives. But we get so wrapped up in our own little lives that we forget about all those people around us and that we impact them. We have some sort of connection. We have bad interaction. We do something great and wonderful. It doesn't matter. What we do impacts those around us. What I do influences my kids. What my kids do influences their friends. So I directly am influencing my kids' friends. That's how I see it. What I say, what I do, how I act, how I treat people. There is always a ripple effect. Always. And we need to take a stand. When you see DEI, don't brush it aside. It is not a religious thing. It should not be a political thing. It's a human thing. So that's where I'm going with that. And I hope that you'll join the fight. And let's keep DEI, ADA, IDEA. Let's keep it in our system because it's necessary. Even if you don't know it, even if you don't see it, start having conversations and you'll find out. And have a great Monday.